All right, man. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, man. Shout out to everybody that responded to me and my little Instagram story concerning Pusha T, this Pusha T Quentin Miller thing, ghostwriting. I've always wanted to talk about this, man, on my on Lost to Vegas, really, but it's just hard to find room for that in a reaction format. So I'm happy again. This is another reason why I'm happy that I started this channel, so I can really just have these conversations, man, because I think that there's just a lot of misinformation, or there's just a lack of maybe understanding of hip hop history and what at least the unwritten rules were. So I'm very happy to maybe, add my 2 cents into this. I'm seeing people say, "Oh my goodness, Pusha T, how dare he? He made this to Drake, and his main angle was the ghostwriting thing, and then all of a sudden, he gets caught with the same guy that Drake got caught with as far as the reference tracks are concerned." Oh, so it's this huge thing, right? Before I dive into that, man, let's listen to it. I'm gonna listen to it one more time. I'll listen to it once, and I'm gonna listen to it again with you guys, and we're gonna talk about it, man. Let's see what this is about. So this is some dude somewhere, whatever, some person leaked reference tracks made by Quentin Miller sent to Pusha T, and Drake fans are saying that Pusha T had a ghostwriter. In hip hop, having a ghostwriter or having reference tracks writing songs is a no-no. You know what I'm saying? So let's listen to it. Let me give you my thoughts, and we'll kind of work from there, man.
It's a great oats. It's a great oats. It's a great oats. It's a great.
Yeah, the real gon' come out. The real gon' come out. The real gon' come out. The spirit of Marsha and the beast in me. Sauce and all y'all from me, nigga. Checks in the lobby. It's checks in the lobby. It's checks in the lobby. Yeah. Squad in the lobby. Squad at the bar buying drinks in the lobby.
These ain't hoop dreams. Who don't want
Ghostwriting. Oats. It's a great oats. It's a great oats. It's a great oats. It's a
yeah. The real gon' come out, the real gon' come out, the real gon' come out. The spirit of Marshawn, the beast in me. Saucing all y'all from me, niggas. Checks in the lobby, it's checks in the lobby, it's checks in the lobby. Ooh. Squad in the lobby, squad at the bar pouring drinks on our body. These ain't hoop dreams. Who don't want the
It's interesting with Quentin, man, because his choruses almost play like verses to me sometimes, the way that he writes them. You know what I mean? So let me pull it back a little bit. But yeah, that sounded like it was a hook, right? So let's play it back.
These ain't hoop dreams. Who don't want
It's a
Spirit of Marsha and the beast in me. Sauce and all y'all from me, nigga. Checks in the lobby. It's checks in the lobby. It's checks in the lobby.
See, all of this to me,
It's a great oats. It's a great.
Yeah, the real gon' come out. The real gon' come out. The real gon' come out. The spirit of Marsha and the beast in me. Sauce and all y'all from me, nigga. Checks in the lobby. It's checks in the lobby.
the beginning part of that almost feels like a start of a verse from Quentin Miller. It is. I'm gonna classify that as a chorus, but it sounds like a start of a verse to me. The way he writes his choruses. So yeah, guys. That's. Again, we're gonna run through all of these because I think it's 3 reference tracks or three songs that he worked on with Pusha T, and then we'll talk about just hip hop history, what we consider ghostwriting, what we don't. But just for the sake of getting through this, that's a hook, and we'll talk about if a hook is ghostwriting or not. Let's keep it going though.
Quentin Miller reference track number 2, Bodman.
take your time to rewind this?
Knew that I would be what I became when I grew up. It's a shame my mama raised her. Mixed feelings for a rich nigga. Money can't fix what's in him. He just a. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Out of my watch, checking time on my phone, sending shooters through an app, man. Damn, that's a bad
We can
man.
tell that you knew the money. Too much.
Ghostwriting.
Take your time to rewind this. Knew that I would be what I became when I grew up. It's a shame my mama raised her. Mixed feelings for a rich nigga. Money can't fix what's in him. He just a.
This shit is kind of nasty to me, man. Okay, boy, it's just a lot to unpack here because Quentin Miller, the part where he says, "What you gonna do? What you gonna do when you come?" Like the way that from that part on feels like a chorus to me, but before that feels like that's a little bit. He's almost barring up. When he can't fix with him, he's just a bitch. Let me run that back, but it is. Let me run it back one more time. Hold on.
Too much.
Ghostwriting.
Take your time to rewind this. Knew that I would be what I became. When I grew up, it's a shame. My mama raised her. Mixed feelings for a rich nigga. Money can't fix what's in him. He just
Mixed feelings for a rich nigga. Money can't fix what's in him. He just a.
That sounds like a verse to me. This is a chorus. I mean, this is technically a chorus. But the way that Quentin Miller writes his choruses feels like segments of a verse into a chorus, right? So, you know, the chorus writing that I grew up on, and maybe I'm just not privy to it. Maybe it was just, you know, I was a little younger, so maybe I just didn't understand, or we just didn't have the internet to really, you know, get the information on to what degree choruses were written. But it's usually the second part that feels like the second part of what of how Quentin came off here is usually what I would classify as more of a chorus. But let me see what he does with it one more time.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Out of my watch, checking time on my phone, sending shooters through an app, man. Damn, that's a bad.
So what you gonna do for you? Send his watch to the phone. Something, damn, that's a bad man. That sounds like a chorus to me. But the money can't fix with him. That sounds like bars to me, right? So it's an interesting little, you know, Pusha took it as a chorus from this reference track and used it, right? Because you could see that. But that don't sound like a traditional chorus to me. But let's keep it going though. Like we gonna unpack this. Let's keep it going. It's almost like a bonus. Like I'm a bar up and give you like almost like a lead, almost like a pre-chorus, you know, into it. But it's a chorus. But it's almost like he's giving you bars like you would receive maybe in a pre-chorus leading into the chorus, if that makes sense, right? So it feels like more than just a standard chorus to me. But let's keep it going.
tell that you knew the money. Feelings for a come for you. Too much.
Quentin Miller, reference track number 3, a track that was sent to Quentin Miller for him to ghostwrite on.
This ace of spade.
My man, he just enjoying this shit. It's sent to Quentin Miller.
Show you.
Whoa, show you better than I tell it. Park the whip out front. Front on me, you'll regret it. Said I do it, then I did it. It's more than music when you live it. You rap about what I'm living. There's no hope for you niggas, no. Yeah. There's no hope for 'em.
Check it.
No hope for 'em. You better run for it. Run while you can.
See, to me, again, the way that Quentin Miller writes his choruses, right? All this other stuff, said I do it and I did it. Let me run that back.
Front on me, you'll regret it.
Regret it.
Said I do it, then I did it. It's more than music when you live it. You rap about what I'm living.
More than music, you did it. You rap about what I'm living feels like the start of a verse, and then he goes to the he transitions into the you better run for it, right?
There's no hope for you niggas, no.
Right here's the chorus to me.
There's no hope for 'em.
Check it.
No hope for 'em. You better run for it. Run while you can. Far as you can.
They say I'm growing up.
Fast as you can. It's over for you, man.
That to me feels like a chorus, right? And that's what I'm used to, at least when I was growing up. It's a certain feel for how a chorus sounds. But Quentin Miller writes, it's almost like he gives you extra pre-chorus to package with the chorus. Now, I'm not going to argue semantics on that. Fine, if you want to file into the chorus, cool. But it just feels a little nasty because he's barring up a little bit in the right? You know what I'm saying? Even in the song, the second one prior to this, he's kind of barring up a little bit, which feels like you're getting bars from him. You know what I'm saying? In addition to what I would consider more of a conventional chorus, which is it's a little nasty to me. A little nasty. Let's see let's finish it up. Though.
Easy does it, I did it. Yeah. Me turn these boys to men. Poison like a Michael Bivins. To each and every chain gang. Kilos round the collar. I just hope you niggas follow. Holla.
Whoa, show you better than I tell it.
This just feels like a song.
Front on
Yeah, I just think that doesn't. I didn't hear Pusha repeat that. So.
nah.
Whatever. Okay, cool. So back in the day, man, let me tell you about what I know from my experience growing up listening to hip hop, you know, growing up in the 90s, man. From my understanding, right? And everybody I know, our understanding, everybody that comes from where I come from, at least in my little sect of the world, my little circle of the world, man. Ghostwriting, when you say someone has a ghostwriter, it has always meant that they write your verses. So what has always been acceptable is like an R&B chorus. Jay-Z will, you know, rap his verse, for example, and then Mary J. Blige will sing, right? You know, Jay and Kanye West would Run This Town. Rihanna sings the chorus on Run This Town. Jay-Z and Kanye West rap their verses, right? So R&B inclusions with choruses, and of course, if from what I've heard and what rappers have told me, you could be in the studio with your man or producer or something like that, and they'll have an idea, they'll have a beat maybe and an idea of how to sort of approach the beat. In addition to they'll maybe give you some lines for a chorus, or maybe they'll have a chorus available, and that is pretty much where the line stops. Right? It's right where once it's time for a verse, you are supposed to write every single lyric in that verse. That's the hip hop I grew up on. So I could tell you that's acceptable. That is the unwritten sort of, that is what hip hop has always been standard. And then I could tell you my standard and what I like and what I don't like. I don't like reference tracks. I like, even listening to that just now, I don't like it. Have I sort of giving people leeway? Have I given them a leash, so to speak, when I've, knowing about courses and knowing about courses being written? Do I give people passes? Yeah, because it's just been acceptable, generally speaking. Do I like it? No. The reason why I don't like it is for many different reasons, man. Like, when I am looking at a rapper's greatness, I am looking at everything. I am looking at your ability to have great lyricism, right? You know what I mean? Which is an umbrella in itself. And what is involved in lyricism? Can you do storytelling? Can you punch? What's your entendre game look like? Homophone game, technical rapping, alliteration, and multi-syllable usage. All of it. Everything that makes a rapper is what I look at. Songwriting, album making, right? And what goes into songwriting? Choruses, writing choruses. Stacking vocals and maybe bridges if you have them or what have you, right? A beat selection, right? All of that goes into how I rank you. When people say, Georgia, what's your best? What are your greatest rappers of all time? My greatest rappers of all time can check most, if not all, those boxes when we're talking about it, right? When you don't check those boxes, it doesn't mean that you're not great in your own way. I just bring you down a peg, right? So I'm thinking about Let God Sort 'Em Out with Pusha T. I'm thinking about that album. And one of my favorite parts of that album was some of Pusha's choruses, right? Like, I just think his chorus game was nasty on that album. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm thinking, and I guess in my head, I know Pharrell wrote some of the choruses, but the choruses that Pharrell didn't do, I thought Pusha did. I could just see he was doing the choruses. But now it begs the question, did he do those choruses, right? Is it him? And does it affect my view of Pusha as a lyricist? No. Does it affect my view of Pusha potentially as a songwriter? Because here's the thing. Here's something I want y'all to ponder, or at least something I want to share with you guys. When I was listening to Let God Sort 'Em Out, I was just like, yo, Malice, and I've always thought this, by the way. Before it was cool, I've always thought that Malice was a superior lyricist. Always. Since Lord Willing on, I've always looked at Malice as the slicker pen, right? And even Pusha said that. I think Pusha at some point said when they were growing up, Malice was known as essentially the poet. But I listened intently with the Let God Sort 'Em Out album, and I was just like, yo, that chorus, like, yo, Pusha on that chorus, Pusha with the pockets that he was in, right? He was better with the chorus construction. I thought that it was him that was responsible for the chorus construction. I thought that it was him that was responsible for the cadences that they both used. You know what I mean, on the song, especially FICO, the way that cadence was structured with the, you know what I'm saying? I knew that Malice came in and just did the bar. I was like, okay, Malice, they called Malice up like, yo, everything's set for him. Either Pharrell or Pusha had the choruses together. They called Malice up and it was like, yo, just come rap. And I thought that's just how I perceived the album. But now that we are looking at him, Pusha, and I think Pusha in the past has said he struggled with choruses or something like that, right? Now when I see something like this with Quentin Miller having to help him set up songwriting and choruses, which lends itself to songwriting, it makes me look at him like, maybe you're not quite as great as I thought you were. Now it's up for debate. Like, how many choruses throughout your career have you had help with, right? The same thing that they do to Drake. Like, how much, how do we know who wrote what? How much did someone write for you, right? It does put things into question. So anyways, okay, let's get that out the way, right? So I don't personally like reference tracks. I don't like them. I think the other piece of it is this, man, and I really want y'all to listen to this. When I think of hip hop, right? When you think of a rapper, right? When you think of a rap song, rappers are not usually making the beats, right? There's exceptions, like J. Cole makes beats, Kanye makes beats, right? We know Dr. Dre makes beats, and you could debate if Dr. Dre is considered a rapper or not because he gets ghostwriting as well. But, rappers usually are not responsible for the production. Oftentimes, rappers, as we're discovering, right, are not responsible for the chorus making. So you don't make the beat, You don't make the chorus. You're not playing any instruments, right? Even the cadences you get help with oftentimes, right? How you approach a beat, which is another thing, right? Because I felt like Quentin Miller, even on those reference tracks that we just listened to, kind of was responsible for the energy and the bounce and the cadence of the song as well. Even if Pusha did technically write his verses, that swagger, right, that we like in terms of rap, that just the way he approached the beat, a lot of that delivery came from Quentin Miller's energy. So it still looks a little to me, right? But as a rapper, you're not making the beats oftentimes. Oftentimes you're not making a chorus. Oftentimes you're not even responsible for the cadence. Maybe people are helping you, your boys in the studio. So the one thing that I have to evaluate you on is your lyricism. That is where I see, personally, where I see the vast majority of the talent when I'm evaluating a rapper, how good a rapper is his lyricism. It's not the only thing, right? Other things matter, but that holds the most weight to me, right? So when I hear, and quite frankly, I think it holds the most weight to everybody, whether they realize it subconsciously or not. When we're ranking top fives, if you don't have bars, you're usually not in people's top five. It's because we're talking about how nice you are as a lyricist and your album, your ability to make albums, right? And your impact on the culture and all that good stuff. So because a lot of rappers aren't responsible for so many components of the song, it is vital that you write your verses. I just think that psychologically for a lot of people, it's like, dog, come on, man. And we're talking about, and rap is a very personal genre as well. It's about, a lot of these guys are telling personal stories. They're giving us real, raw, gritty perspectives, maybe sometimes not gritty. Maybe they're talking about love. Maybe it's depression. We want to know that those words come from your brain, that melody, those melodies, those cadences, whatever you use come from your brain to the studio, because Beyonce, people always bring up R&B singers. Well, Beyonce and Whitney Houston, they've used writers and Aretha Franklin and all that, like, dog. Beyonce, you could take away the lyrics and Beyonce can still sing her ass off. She has talent. She can perform her ass off on stage. That's talent. When you take away you take away the beat, you take away the choruses if they're not responsible for that, and all you have as a rapper is your pen. So it is just important, man. So I'm seeing a lot of people get mad. Oh, these unwritten rule. Who gives a fuck? It's a collaborative effort, not when it comes to hip hop, for the reasons that I mentioned. No, as a rapper, you need to write your rhymes, or you don't have talent, and we need to find the dude that wrote your shit. He's the talent. He or she, is the talent. So yes, that's important. And I feel like the minute that stops becoming important, then we don't even have talent in our genre anymore. It's just no longer remotely. There's no talent. It's just manufactured conveyor belt artists that don't really have anything. You know what I'm saying? That are just sort of curated by a label and ChatGPT lyrics. No, dog. We have to have some standards, man. So that is important to me, and that has always been important to the core of hip hop, which is why I always say, when Drake is my boy, Drake fans, y'all know what it is, man. Y'all know I love Drake. I think Drake is one of the greatest. That is the one thing that Drake has done throughout his entire career that bothered me, man. That bothered me because I know that, listen, I get it. Drake he's a fucking machine. He's a billionaire at this point. Even probably around It Was Reading This, It's Too Late, he was 100 millionaire. So he's probably, and Drake works constantly. So I know he was just like in the studio churning out work, doing features here, doing features there. And he probably was burnt out, or probably, was a little tired or something like that. So, and then Quentin Miller offers some new swag, some new energy. And the difference between what Pusha did and what Drake did was Drake just let Quentin, he just took essentially a song from Quentin. Like, maybe not the whole song, he switched it up a little bit, but it's essentially a song. He's writing verses, ad-libs, the swagger. It's just a lot, you know what I mean, that Drake took from that. So that bothered me, and I was like, damn, because I saw Drake do. I was like, I still think that Drake is an MC, and I think that people are using that to discredit everything he's ever done, and they try to act like he doesn't write his rhymes. I believe Drake writes his rhymes. I do think that there have been times where Drake has probably been overworked, doing a whole bunch of stuff, and he just let people go a little bit too far, because he does R&B, he does all these different genres, and maybe on an R&B song, we don't care too much about Drake getting an R&B song written, right? So Drake is this sort of, he's this hybrid, right? He does R&B, he does pop, he does rap. And I think somewhere along the lines, the lines blurred, and he allowed some R&B shit that he allowed something that would have passed on an R&B tip. He let that bleed into hip hop, and he forgot because I believe Drake is a student of the game. He forgot, and he got a little bit too comfortable, and he let some shit happen that shouldn't have happened. Drake fans, I get it, man. Drake was done dirty. He was done dirty on a level that I have never seen an artist done dirty on in my lifetime. I mean, maybe Michael Jackson was getting shit on crazy, but even still, the love for Michael Jackson was so crazy that I believe it outweighed the hate, even though he got a lot of hate during the whole trial with the kids and all that other stuff. But dude, Michael, but I still don't think the internet wasn't even prevalent around that time. It wasn't even in existence, at least around that time. So I can't even compare it to what Drake went through. It was bad, guys. And I think that's why things aren't healing, is because there needs to be a reckoning. I feel like Drake fans are like, throughout that battle, Kendrick fans, ambodying and all that shit that happened, it was so overwhelming. It was so lopsided and malicious. And I feel like Drake fans have now mobilized as a result of that, and now they want their get back. So much so that they're rushing to jump on any single thing. And I believe their get back, I think, is justified. I think Drake fans deserve that. I think that not Kendrick. I don't think Kendrick should be necessarily attacked. He's going to get attacked. I don't think it's about Kendrick personally. I think it's about the outside entities and all the West Coast rap dudes that made it their job to hate on Drake every day and do live streams and shit on this dude every day. And I think Kendrick fans want their get back. And they are jumping on any little thing, anybody associated with TDE, anybody that's talking crazy, any slick talk, or anything like this. I just would encourage you. Listen, I think you're justified. I would just encourage you to slow down, instead of jumping on every little thing, because what you're doing is you're making Drake look bad, jumping on shit like this. Oh, ghostwriting. I don't think this isn't ghostwriting by hip hop standards, because it makes you look like you don't know what's up with hip hop. Maybe talk to people who know what's up. Reach out to people who've been around. So that before you get, because again, I think the get back is justified. Really, I do. Not necessarily directed directly at Kendrick, but all the people, all the media outlets that was on some bullshit. 100%, I believe that they deserve what they're getting. They deserve all the smoke you guys are giving them. I just think you guys jump out the window too quickly without doing research and understanding history sometimes, and it kind of makes you look like you don't know what's going on. Get your get back, but be smart. Be more calculated with the get back. So in summary, I don't believe this is ghostwriting. But at the same time, being someone who looks at rappers, when I look and evaluate rappers, I'm factoring in their ability to write songs. So Pusha T is not coming out of this unscathed to me. It's gonna hurt him a little bit, in my opinion, because I look at your ability to craft choruses. When I'm factoring in how great you are as a rapper, your ability to craft choruses, your ability to songwrite without assistance, at least not much assistance, matters to me. People are going to say, well, Nas, and yes, Nas, Jay, Pac, Biggie, I'm sure everybody has had some assistance. But reference tracks where they are giving you the swag and the cadence to this, it's still a little nasty, though. Pusha T's still that dude. He still gets busy and all that, but an eyebrow is raised, is all I'm going to say. So anyways, man, let me know what y'all think, you know what I'm saying, in the comments, man. But that's the end of the video, guys. If you enjoyed that, make sure you hit the like button, man, subscribe, hit the notification button and all that. Follow me on social media. I know I still need to get on, like, putting shit on social media, I know. But my information for that will be in the description. I'm George. This is Rhyme Rate. We out.